StrayAllDay.com.
You are now tuned into the show where you learn the discipline to show up day after day, to do the work, the confidence to put yourself out there boldly and authentically, and the mental toughness to continue showing up, doing the work, putting yourself out there, even when the success you've expected to achieve has yet to be achieved. And on top of all this, you get a huge dose of personal initiative. What's that, Dre? That is the go-getter energy that moves any one of us, including yourself, to go and make things happen instead of waiting for things to happen. And then we put all this together into a series of frameworks, approaches, insights, strategies, and techniques underneath the umbrella of one unifying philosophy that is called work on your game. My name is Dre Baldwin, also known as Dre All Day, and welcome to the show. And today's topic is how I structure my day. Before we get into this, I remind you of two things. First of all, my daily motivation and Monday motivation text both come from the same source. That is my text community. It is free to join it. All you got to do is text me at my number, 305-384-6894. And as soon as we start sending those messages out again, you, as a member of my text community, will be able to get those messages. We'll tell you how it works, your options and all that as soon as we start resending those messages. As of right now, they're not sending, but as soon as they start sending, you'll know about it. Secondly, but you got to text me to know about it. Secondly, Work on Your Game University. That's the place where I do all my coaching. If you like to be working with me directly, you like to have me as your direct coach, I will tell you how you can join our program right now, like in the next 5 minutes. You don't have to have a conversation with us first. We used to have it set up that way, but I decided we should shortcut that and stop putting people to have the conversation with us. Let them just join. You can just join. Just join the university. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. You can join right there. If you like to work with me personally on a one-on-one level, we have options for that. If you want to join our group mastermind program, we have options for that. And then we have all our programs and courses, etc. You can get all of that by going to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That link is also in the description to wherever you're consuming this. Now, with all that out the way, let's get into the topic here today, which is how I structure my day. This is a question that I get asked about often, so I'm going to answer it here in this episode. So as I've made all of my content, as I've done with all of my content in the past, sometimes people ask me about this as well. How do I come up with ideas for content? Well, one reason that I make as much content as I have, even back to the basketball days, was anytime I kept getting a similar question over and over again, I would just make a piece of content answering the question so that I had it succinctly answered. So even if let's just say I didn't have a lot of time to answer the question this time when somebody asked me, I could just take one time, answer the question fully and in full detail and answering all the buts and what ifs and howevers and all of that one time. And then I could just have it somewhere so that any time someone had that question, I could just direct them to the content to answer the question instead of me having to answer the same question more than once. Well, this is the way that I created so much material in the basketball space, so much material in the mindset space. And right now, a lot of what I'm doing is creating material in the business / entrepreneurship / systems / strategic / implementation space. That's the area that I'm most focused in these days. And that's where I make a lot of content while still doing a whole lot of mindset stuff as well. Not so much the basketball material, but I've covered every aspect of basketball in content as well. If any of you is a basketball player or you got kids who are, and you're interested, that stuff is still out there, still available. And you want to get our programs for basketball, go to hoophandbook.com. But anyway, how this subject came along, this particular topic, was I was in a group coaching call in Work on Your Game University, which you should join. If you have not joined yet, join at the link, workonyourgameuniversity.com. And there I have many entrepreneur members, and many of them are challenged with structure and with taking control of their time and making the most of the time that they have. That's one of the ways you take control of it. So I was asked how I structure my day, and I realized that I didn't have an episode that I had completely dedicated to the subject. So I will heretofore have that void filled by doing this episode right here. So how I structure my day, let's get right into it. Point number one, topic once again today, how I structure my day. Here's the first principle that you must understand, that everything goes on the calendar. This is the first piece of the structure. Now, any of you who's familiar with my work, you've heard me tell you that there is a process to how things happen. You want to get rewards in life. Rewards can be your money, success, happiness, love, likes, followers, fame, whatever rewards you want. You must produce results. In order to produce results, you must perform. In order to perform, you need to have a level of confidence. That confidence comes from the discipline of having done the work. Discipline is a byproduct of structure, and structure follows principles. So I'm giving you the principle. This is the high level point here. Everything goes on the calendar. Why? Because a calendar is a form of structure. What is a calendar structuring? It is structuring the day. It is structuring your life. It is structuring your hours. A calendar is simply a structure to keep track of your life. That's what a calendar is. It just tells you the date and it tells you what's happening that day if you actually use the calendar. And if you're not using it, it just tells you what day it is and doesn't do anything else. So every in demand, highly productive person who I know or know of, they all operate by calendar. Every single one of them. I don't know a single person who is highly productive who does not operate by a calendar. Not one. So when I say this, that means that their day is structured. Their days are structured. And there is a schedule to everything. There's a start time, there is a stop time. You can ask them, hey, what are you doing on Thursday next week? And they can pull up their calendar and they look at Thursday next week and they tell you what they're doing. They will tell you if they're available. They'll tell you, hey, I'm out of town. They'll tell you, hey, I have lunch at 12 o'clock. They tell you, I have three calls that I got to hop on. They'll tell you whatever their situation is. They'll tell you, hey, I'm on stage. Hey, I'm at my daughter's ballet recital. Whatever the situation is, every highly productive person operates by calendar, not by just randomly doing whatever. They do not just do things and let them take as long as they can take. There's a structured time. This has this much time to get done. I hope you all are catching everything that I'm telling you here. How we end up losing control of our time, everyone, is when we allow things to take as long as they take, because what happens is, according to Parkinson's law, a task will expand or contract given the amount of time given for its completion. So if you give yourself an hour to get something done, you will get it done usually within that hour. Give yourself 2 hours, then it will take you 2 hours. If you give yourself no time parameters, then it could take you all day. And you still didn't get it done because there were no parameters. This is how a schedule creates structure. And a calendar is just a form of a schedule. So you have to have clear structure to your day, and a calendar is a good place to start. Regardless of what you're doing, you need a clear structure to your day. Clear start times and ending times, and respecting the schedule that you have set for yourself is how you use this. So it's not just having a schedule and having a calendar and putting things in it, but it's also respecting what's in it. So if you say from 1 o'clock to 2 o'clock, I'm going to be doing this thing, then at 2 o'clock, you stop doing that thing. And if that means it's not done, well, that's probably not acceptable for you. You got to schedule more time to get it finished. But your mandate is to get it done within the time frame you're giving yourself. Giving yourself a deadline to get things done. This is how things get done. This is how they get done, folks. Remember, Parkinson's law. This is their law. A task will contract. If you give it less time to get done, you'll get it done in less time because you set a mandate for yourself. And anyone is capable of doing this. Point number 2. Today's topic, once again, is how I structure my day. So everybody got the first one, right? We're using calendar. Number 2, every repeatable everyday task is put in the calendar to be noted and checked off every day. Every repeatable everyday task is put in the calendar to be noted and checked off every day. For example, every day I know I'm going to prepare my supplemental AG1 that I drink every day. And I know I'm going to prepare my protein shake that I drink every day. I know I'm going to prepare those on Monday for the ones that what I'm going to drink on Tuesday. So it's on my calendar that I had to check off that I prepared my AG1 drink and my protein shake for the following day before that day is over. That's a repeatable everyday task. Everybody understand what I'm saying here? Let me look at my calendar and tell you what else I got, because I actually need to check some things off. I know every day I'm going to get in front of my physical whiteboard. I'm going to record a short, maybe minute or 2 video that I'm going to post on social media as a reel. I know I'm going to do that every single day. I know every day I'm going to schedule at least one article that's going to go out to my email list or is going to go into one of my automations. So if it doesn't go out that day, it'll go into automation that's set to go out. I know that I don't always do it, but I have the option of posting a post to social media where I just grab a photo and I grab an excerpt from an article that I've written. I put that on social media, or I write a caption for it. I know we're doing a certain number of reach outs to media people, to possible collaborators, and to looking at speaking leads. Every day, I know I'm going to do that. I know I want to spend some time reading every single day. And there are other things that it might not go on the schedule, but I do put them as tasks because they're just one-off things that I need to do. So for example, there's a conference I know I want to go to. Let me go buy a ticket to that conference. I'll put it on the calendar for whatever day. Okay, I'm going to go buy that ticket, and then I'll buy the flight, and I'll book the hotel. I'll do all that at once. So I know I have these things that I'm going to do every single day. So these are tasks that go on the calendar. So they're everyday things. So it's not like I won't always put a scheduled time for them. I'll just put them as check boxes, box checks for those things, because they're repeatable and they may not happen at a certain time every day, but I know they're going to happen. So this is another way that I keep track of all the stuff that I need to do, just in case it slips my mind to do it and I forget. And many of these things, I do them so often that I do them without having to look at the calendar first. But when I look at the calendar, it reminds me, oh yeah, I'm supposed to do that every day. I didn't do that yet today. Let me make sure I get that taken care of. So if I'm going to do a live stream, for example, I might put that on the calendar. Writing an article, making a post on social media, recording a reel. I already told you that. Grabbing some leads to go into the CRM. And some of these things I might only do once a week. Some of them I may do every Monday, Wednesday, Friday. You can set up your calendar to do this. Good thing about technology, folks, is it can handle those types of things. So these are all examples of things that I do, or either I have now on my calendar as a daily checklist item, or I have had in the past on my calendar as daily checklist items. This way, anything that I do every single day, I know I'm holding myself accountable to make sure that I do it. And again, I'm trusting the fact that I have it written down rather than hoping that I will remember to do those things. I'm not remembering to get them done. I know that they're going to get done because I have them written down, and I know I'm going to look at my calendar. And if I notice something's not done, then I can say to them, "Oh, I got to get that done. I get it done." All right, simple enough, right? And this is the reason why we use structure. And again, your calendar, this can be something you have written down. This can be something digital. You can use some kind of app. There are all kinds of apps these days that claim to be, AI-driven personal assistants. They can do these same things. They can do a lot more than that, but they can at least do this basic stuff. These are the kind of things that we want to have in place in our lives. Forget about business, just for your life, period. Just to make sure that everything that needs to get done is documented as needing to be done so that you can make sure it does get done, because what you measure, you can manage. And writing things down and knowing you have to check a box is a form of measurement. It's either a 0 or a 1. A 0 is it's not done, a 1 is it is done. That's a form of measurement. And when you measure things, you can manage them. You can do something about what am I measuring, and you can see where things are working and where they're not working. Things that you do not measure, however, you can't manage them because you may not even be aware of their existence. And when you have things that are being measured, you can look at and see, okay, here's how much this is happening, here's how much this is not happening, so you can set proper expectations for yourself, and you know what's going to happen in the future. And what did we talk about in yesterday's episode? That as a professional, you are already prepared ahead of time for a situation before it occurs. And one of the reasons we can be prepared ahead of a situation is because we already know what's coming, because we have done the work already. We've done our homework. So when you know what to expect based on things that you've measured, then you know what's going to happen in the future, and you can be prepared before it even occurs. So it's almost like you are seeing the future. To the outsider, it appears you're seeing the future when you kind of are. And the reason you can see the future, quote unquote, is because you can see the past. And human beings, we tend to behave in patterns. So, for example, I was talking to my assistant this morning, and I was explaining to her and showing her, actually demonstrating to her on the computer screen, how we can measure the number of leads that we're bringing in, how many leads we need to reach out to before we end up having a close, and what leads to what. And we know exactly what the percentages are. So we know, okay, once we reach out to, we want to get one booking here, we want to have one close here, that means we got to get 8 leads. Every 8 leads leads to about one close. We noticed that in one of the stats that we were looking at in the CRM. But first of all, you got to have enough data to have a statistically significant output, and you got to have a clear enough system that you're using the same process over and over again, so you know that this process is leading to this outcome. Now, if your process keeps changing, then that data is not relevant. The whole point is you got to be measuring things so that you can manage them. So the question for you is, what are you measuring as far as structuring your day and your life? Number 3, today's topic, once again, is how I structure my day. Number 3, teach anyone and everyone around you how the calendar works and operate by this process consistently. Teach them how the calendar works and operate by this process consistently. So what I'm referring to here, I don't mean my kids and wife and everybody needs to operate by my process on my calendar. What I mean this specifically at work. So I have an assistant, as I just mentioned. She knows exactly how to use the calendar. She is trained on how to use the calendar. When she first came to work for me, I trained her on how the calendar works, how to put things in the calendar. She has full access to my calendar. She has authority to put items on my calendar, to take things off my calendar, to schedule things on the calendar. She knows exactly how I want it, how things need to be worded, how things should be noted, what color the items should be on the calendar, so I can glance at it and I know exactly what's happening. Also know exactly what's not happening. She also knows when she has authority to make edits and adjustments, or when she should reach out to me first. All of that is part of the training. I've taught her all those things. Those are not things that she just randomly showed up with the ability to do. And again, this is part of the investment process that you make into any people who are going to be around you. So she knows when, where, and how to schedule things such as media appearances, speaking engagements, sales calls, how to enter those into the calendar, exactly how they should look. She knows where the Zoom link needs to go if it's a Zoom call, how things should be entered into the CRM as basically a form of double entry, and what times I'm available. She knows what times are okay to say yes to, and she knows what times that if we absolutely have to take that time, she should reach me first and get a yes from me before she goes forward. So she knows all those things. She knows the maximum number of items that should be on the calendar in a day based on what they are. She knows the earliest time that I will take a call. She knows the latest time that I will take a call. This is all documented and process driven, is the point. These are not things that I just randomly thought up. They all are documented and process driven. Do not book anything after this time. Do not book anything on these days. If we already have this many things booked on this day, don't add anything else to the calendar that day. Find the next day. All right, these things are all known. We need this much buffer time between the time someone gives us the word and the time that we actually do the thing. All of these things are part of our process. And again, this is documented and process driven. So when my assistant needs to make a choice and do something, she doesn't have to come to me and ask me what she should do because she's already been trained on what to do and what not to do. And she basically has basically like a decision tree in her head based on what she's been trained because she's been here long enough to know what to do and what not to do. So she already knows the process. So any of you who have people working with you or people working for you, you and all those people need to be on the same page as to how things work, where they work, why they work, and when they work. And this is your job. If you're the person in charge, it is your job to make sure that this process is completely documented so that you know that they know that you know exactly how you want things to be. Because when they realize that you know exactly how you want things to be, they will usually follow it because they know that you've taken the time to actually figure it out and think about it and make sure that this stuff looks the way that it's supposed to look. Now, if you haven't done this work, well, first of all, you're not going to have a clean schedule yourself. You're not going to have too much structure to your day. And the people who are working for you, they're going to be confused because they're not quite sure what the process is because you haven't given them a process, and you haven't given them a process because you don't know the process. All right, so this is your job, boss, leader, business owner, to make sure that this stuff is in place so that nobody is confused. When everything is documented, you can hold people accountable if they don't do things the right way. But if nothing is documented, you have no authority to hold anyone accountable for making a mistake because how do we know it's a mistake? If there's no documentation, then I can't go to my assistant and say, hey, this piece you messed up because the documentation says this, but you did that. Now, if I don't have anything documented, I can't say that to my assistant. Now, if she makes a mistake, and she is human, and every once in a while a mistake will be made. Most of the time she doesn't make mistakes, but if she does, I have the authority to hold her accountable because I have documented the process. Without that documentation, I have no authority. And the word author comes from authority. What does an author do? They write things down. They document things. They document things. When things are documented, now you are an author, and authors have authority because you have written something down that is officially on or in the record. Everybody follow me? Good. Let's recap today's class, which is how I structure my day. Point number one, the principle to understand is that everything goes on the calendar. If you just take one thing away from what I told you here today, and this will help a bunch of you a lot of ways, everything goes on the calendar. If you are just waking up, getting to your place of work, wherever that happens to be, or if you're working a side hustle and you get to the time that you get to spend on your side hustle and there's no plan, no schedule for what needs to happen, then here's some low-hanging fruit that you can pick off the tree right here. Everything goes on the calendar. Number two, all repeatable everyday tasks or just repeatable tasks, period, they go on the calendar to be noted and checked off every day so that you know that it knows that you know those things actually got done. Again, this is simple stuff, folks, but a lot of people don't do these things because discipline is not so easy. That's why we're talking about structure. Number three, teach everyone around you, if you have people working with or for you, exactly how you're doing things. Make sure everyone is doing things the same way so that there's a uniform process. There's no uniform process. Again, you have no authority to hold anyone accountable for a mistake because there's no documentation that proves it to be a mistake. If something's not documented, then you can't say something's right or wrong because it's not documented. The documentation is the final record. Got it? Just like the laws of America, they're on the books. So the law is clear. So if someone does something that's against the law, I can show you the law and show you why you broke it. But if there's no law written down, then there's no law. And without law, ain't no order. Order is a form of structure, no discipline. No discipline, no confidence, no performance, no results, no rewards. Very simple when you get it broken down by a person like me. And this is why you need to join Work on Your Game University. So go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's where you can join our group mastermind program. You have option to work with me one-on-one as well. We have options for that. Go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. Links down below in the description. Also, get that text number. Make sure you text me so you're in my community. So when we send those messages again, you are in. Work on your game. Dre all